Nature is full of symbiotic relationships. Evolution tells us that organisms adapt to their environment. And given that other organisms are part of that environment, it makes sense that organisms would adapt to each other. Some of these relationships are mutually beneficial. The bee gets food, the plant gets pollinated. But other relationships are parasitic. Green-banded broodsac larvae hijack the amber snail's body and mind. The parasite can only reproduce inside the digestive system of birds, and so it takes over the snail's eye stalks and makes them resemble the caterpillars the birds eat. Not only that, it influences the snail's behaviour, making it climb to the tops of trees where birds are more likely to see and prey on it. The mechanism through which the green-banded broodsac controls the mind of the snail is unknown. So what about humans? The Toxoplasma gondii parasite is similar to the green-banded broodsac, except it reproduces inside cats' digestive systems rather than birds. Like the green-banded broodsac, Toxoplasma gondii alters its host behaviour. For example, it's well established that Toxoplasma gondii makes infected mice behave in ways that make them more likely to be eaten by cats. Although Toxoplasma gondii are only known to reproduce in cats' digestive systems, estimates suggest that up to half the world's human population are infected by the Toxoplasma gondii parasite. And like in mice, several studies suggest Toxoplasma gondii alters human behaviour too. For example, Toxoplasma gondii is associated with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Perhaps this is where the crazy cat lady archetype comes from. It's not just parasites like Toxoplasma gondii though. The human body is host to billions of microbes, of which there are thousands, likely millions of different species. Most estimates suggest these microbe cells outnumber our own cells, perhaps by as many as 10 to 1. So, if one organism like Toxoplasma gondii can have such dramatic effects, just imagine what effect all these organisms have together. Perhaps unsurprisingly, more and more research highlights the importance of microbiome in physical and mental health. Gut microbiome is linked to all sorts of mental disorders, such as anxiety, depression, autism, and Alzheimer's. There's evidence your gut bacteria influences what foods you like and how much you eat. It's likely microbes, or a lack thereof, play an important role in the development of food allergies too. All sorts of physical disorders are linked to gut microbiome too, things like cancer and heart disease. Your gut microbiome may even influence how good you are at sports. Your gut microbiome, like your genome, plays a huge part in how healthy or unhealthy you are, how you feel, and even who you are. But unlike your genome, you can change your microbiome. Probiotic supplements and foods such as yogurt contain live microorganisms, the kind that are apparently good for your gut. And some evidence suggests consuming probiotic foods and supplements can alleviate some of the conditions linked to gut microbiome, conditions like anxiety and depression. But other studies question the efficacy of probiotics. This is perhaps unsurprising given that eating random microorganisms is hardly a targeted approach. How do we know these bacteria strains are the ones that reduce depression, for example, or if they even survive the acidic environment of the stomach to colonize the intestine? There is another, more extreme way to alter a person's microbiome though: fecal transplants. Fecal transplants involve, well, you get the idea. Fecal transplants are a more targeted way to encourage the microbes you want to encourage in a person's gut. Clinical trials have established fecal transplants as an effective treatment for Clostridio, that. But there's also evidence that fecal transplants could treat other disorders like autism and allergies. They may even help us live longer. It's pretty clear that microbes are not just along for the ride. We're in a symbiotic relationship with our microbes, and they are with us. And the more time you spend researching this topic, the more you realise what enormous potential the microbiome has to cure all sorts of diseases you'd at first think are not related. Not only that, we could potentially harness microbes to improve the health and fitness of already healthy people. Perhaps they could even make us superhuman. Microbes influence our bodies, our brains, and our minds, but we can also influence them too. And so instead of the microbes, the parasites and the viruses and the bacteria controlling us like zombie snails, we can control them and use them to improve our physical and mental health.